or welcome back to Silence on the Sidelines. This is Elizabeth King, and I am a long-term soccer player. I am a committed athlete to play soccer next year, and I am a current high school senior, and I've had my experiences with ignoring my injuries for various reasons, but I've recognized that there tends to be an issue in youth sports culture where children don't feel like they are able to speak up and actually seek to receive therapy and actually recover from their injuries. Today, we're going to actually be talking about mental health struggles in athletics because it's always been such a taboo topic, and that's exactly why I want to talk about it, right? I do want to start off by saying, if you are able to, and you feel like you're struggling with mental health struggles, please seek out help. I cannot express how important this really is. We all need someone that we feel like we can just talk to, and I just can't state how important that is. Your mental struggles are just important as your physical struggles, and you should treat them with just as much care. Unless you're ignoring your injuries, then please treat it with more care than that. Just kidding. But I do just think it's really important to start off by saying that it is so important to seek out help, and I hope that by talking about mental health, we're able to start to break down some of the stigma. Awesome. So, like I said, we're going to be digging into just mental health struggles and why so many athletes are ignoring their mental health struggles until it's largely too late. I want to start off with just kind of a question. Athletes are in some of the most stressful circumstances. We're constantly pushing ourselves past physical limits, injury, exhaustion, pain, everything, right? And when we speak out about being stressed, having, struggles mentally, I feel like so many people just think it's too far, And we're often told to shake it off when it comes to mental health struggles, which is just crazy. Everyone has some type of struggle, and I've just never understood why this is such a taboo topic, because it's so human. It's so natural. I feel like our emotions are partially what make us so unique, and the fact that we are not able to talk about that is just ridiculous. So the first part I'm going to talk about is just kind of the pressure to perform. From a young age, athletes often are conditioned to equate strength with silence. I know throughout my years as a young athlete, I was always told to just listen, don't ask questions, kind of toughen up, get your head straight, and don't be a distraction. And the meta message of that is just vulnerability is weak, and weakness will get you benched or replaced. So as athletes, I feel like we become really good at hiding our struggles, whether that be anxiety, depression, burnout. It's all just pushed aside in the name of performance. One of the athletes actually told me that, quote, I didn't feel like I could tell anyone I was struggling because I didn't want to let my team down. We base so much of our mental health in performance, and our sport becomes so much of our identity that we begin to think we're just our sport. We solely value our performance instead of who we are as people, which is so incredibly complex and difficult to grapple with. The next part I want to talk about is just kind of the stigma that has been created around mental health. So, in my experience, at least, I know in an athletic setting, I would not be comfortable talking about my mental health struggles. And that largely is because of the stigma that has been sort of upheld surrounding mental health. I mean, I've never really understood why there is so much of a stigma surrounding it because it's such a human thing. We all have our struggles, we all have feelings and emotions, so I've never understood why that has become the norm. With athletes especially, we're often admired for our physical prowess, but despite our exceptional talents, the demands of performance can take a drastic toll on our mental health. And in recent years, the medical field, sports organizations, and pop culture have begun to recognize how important this is. Many people experience a mental health condition at some point of their lives, and athletes were people too. In fact, we have an increased risk of developing mental health conditions. While this study is a little bit outdated, a 2019 study found that 35% of elite athletes have mental health concerns, and those are just the people that feel comfortable reporting it. Another study found that very few athletes are willing to report or receive treatment for mental health struggles, with just 10% of male athletes saying that they would feel comfortable asking for help. Athletes are constantly under intense pressure. We face unrealistic expectations from coaches, fans, teammates, and even ourselves. We have this relentless pursuit for protection, which of course takes a toll on our well-being. We're balancing the personal responsibilities and the meeting their sport commitments and academics and a job and extracurriculars. There's a million things we're balancing. So I'm also going to talk a little bit about just some of the most common mental health disorders among athletes. So there's depression, which is like the increased irritability, withdrawal, lack of motivation, loss of interest in sports, social isolation, and just eating irregular sleep patterns. There's also eating disorders, which are the most common in female athletes, particularly in those who do sports that focus on a certain look. Coaches often perpetuate eating disorders within specific sport teams, so like dieting, weight loss, and extreme training may lead coaches to characterize the individual as a good athlete dedicated to their team. So it's super problematic. There's also, of course, substance abuse. So one driving factor of substance misuse in athletics is the players that want to gain an advantage. So like steroids or other type of enhancing drug. Of course, these are all illegal, but there are still prevalent issues in our society. There's also anxiety, and according to the NCAA, 85% of athletic trainers believe anxiety among student athletes is a cause for concern. Clearly, these symptoms are affecting the mind and body, and they're very real and prevalent issues that we need to begin addressing. Mental health is something that has been stigmatized for so long, and I think there's something very human about knowing that our circumstances and our experiences or something we can all relate to. A lot of athletes will ignore their mental health because they're scared that they're going to lose everything they've worked so hard for: the scholarships, contracts, starting positions, reputation. And there's this belief that if you speak up, you might be seen as unstable. And if I'm unstable, maybe I'm not worth it on the team. I think a good example of this was how Naomi Osaka and Simone Biles were treated, which are two world-class athletes. And because they prioritize their mental health, a lot of people criticize them for being quitters and being unreliable. The overall message that is being sent is that mental health can cost you, and it can cost you a lot. But ignoring it will never make it go away. In fact, athletes have a higher rate of these mental health disorders, especially when they're injured or nearing retirement. But mental toughness isn't about pretending you're fine. It's about knowing when to ask for help. That's the only way that we can actually create change, is by talking about this issue. We need to start by normalizing mental health conversations across the board, but especially in athletics. We train coaches and athletic staff to spot warning signs, create spaces where athletes can talk without the fear of being judged, and highlight athletes who are willing to open about their struggles, because that representation and visibility is so important. I know that colleges and sport teams are slowly bringing in more mental health professionals, so I would love to see this at younger ages. But I think once we get to a point where we feel comfortable talking to our teammates and coaches, not just therapists, about our mental health issues and struggles, that's when we'll finally be in a less stigmatized culture surrounding mental health. Athletes, all of us, because I need to hear this too, are more than what we produce on a field, a court, or a track. We all are people with minds that need care just as much as our muscles or our bodies. If you're an athlete listening to this and struggling, you're not a burden, you're not alone, and you're not weak. You are worthy of help, not just later, but now. Thank you so much for listening to my podcast, Silence on the Sidelines. Next week, we're going to be talking about concussions, because I believe that they deserve a whole separate video. And we're going to be talking about just the brain in general and what's really scary outcomes of ignoring concussion protocol. I really hope that we can start normalizing the talk about mental health. So I would love it if you could share this on to teammates, coaches, or parents that need to hear it. Until then, please take care of your body and your mind, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.